Welcome. This is On Proactive Legacy Planning. I'm Phil Cubetta. For many years, I taught the Chartered Advisor and Philanthropy program at the American College, and I'm here today with Lou Teti, a distinguished tax attorney who took that program. So let me ask Lou, I've mentioned estate planning, I mentioned legacy planning. What is the difference?
Well, Phil, first of all, thank you for having me. You've inspired me to become a legacy planner, which I'm trying to do as best I can. But to answer your question, estate planning in the traditional sense is a client coming into our office and basically looking at their estates, what they own, their family structure, and maybe some causes that are important to them, and drafting a document, a will, that basically carries out their intentions when they die. Where do their assets go? That's basically estate planning. You can add in tax planning as a part of that as well, depending on the size of the estate. But that's basic estate planning. And that's, I think, if I may say, probably what I would say 85% of traditional estate planners do all the time. Legacy planning, on the other hand, is a continuum. It's a spectrum, as you'll hear about a little bit later. And it's a lifetime process. But legacy planning takes it a step further. It doesn't look just at what your estate is and how you want to distribute it, but we ask questions before we get to the how many children do you have. We ask, so like what causes are important to you? What drives you? What gets you up in the morning? How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah.
What kind of values do you want to pass on to your family or your loved ones? These intangibles that don't really have anything to do with dividing up a pie of wealth, but have a lot more to do with trying to figure out whether you can instill meaning into the use of your dollars when you die, for your family and as well as for causes that are important to you. So that's legacy planning in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is legacy planning is passing on more than money. It's passing on values, traditions, memories, well-being, essentially. It's oriented to the well-being of the family over time and not just the movement of assets efficiently and effectively for us.
That's true. And Phil, I might add there, in that regard, when I talk about the traditional estate planning structure, in our interviews, or at least my interviews when I meet with a client initially, and it sometimes is a little bit, I think, clients are a little bit surprised to hear this approach or the questions that I ask and saying, why are you asking me that?
Right.
But I don't start with
Right.
how many kids do you have or children.
Right.
I basically say, where did you grow up? And where'd you go to school? And do you volunteer? Can I take a look
Right.
at your tax return? Because the tax return can basically tell me a lot about what their charitable interests are. And traditionally, because we are planners as attorneys, as planners, we traditionally charge hourly. And that basically hurts us in the process right from the get-go, because basically clients are looking at their watch and saying, I want to do this as efficiently time-wise as I can. And frankly, I think at some time the planner really has to understand that in order to do a good job legacy planning-wise, we need to solicit the input. The client has to be proactive. They have to tell us what they want to do, but it can't be the moment they walk into the room. They have to be prepped for that. They have to be thinking about this before they come into the attorney's office.
I think you made, the most important point as somebody I'm not an attorney, but I work with so many people who do this. What I notice is that people go to their advisors, much as they go to their doctors for a pass or the dentist. They want it to be over fast, and they want to go back to whatever they're doing before they went in. Knock me out, do what you got to do, and let me know when it's over, sort of the attitude. And the process is chilling, and in the process, the generous impulses they may actually have get lost. They don't get translated in the process because the process itself is something they're not doing intentionally. And I know that you do it. You find ways to do it because you know it's important. But what could clients do to be better prepared for the average, no, I'm going to say average, a good attorney who's focused on getting the numbers right and the tax stuff right? How can they go in prepared to I won't say disrupt that process, but guide that process to a better result?
Good question, Phil. And I think that there are easy ways to do that. I think that if the attorney that's involved gives them a template of concepts to think about before they come in, that's good. But most times they're not going to get that from the attorney. Most times the attorney that sets up the meeting is going to say, I'll see you on the 24th at 10 o'clock and we'll talk about your estate plan, period. But if they look at videos like this and maybe think about the things that they can do, they can sit down at the dinner table or afterward over a a drink or a refreshment with their spouse and say, so we're going to go see Lou Teti in a couple of weeks about their estate plan. So, let's get this some thought. What do we want things to look like when we're not here anymore? Where do we want our wealth to be distributed? Do we want to give it all to our kids? If we give them all of our wealth to our kids, are we doing them a disservice possibly? Are they ready for the money? Can they handle it? Do we need to set up a trust for them? What about what's important to us in life and the things that we supported? Don't we want them to know that we want part of the money that we've accumulated to be used for those purposes? For example, like, how about if you're a loyal donor at a hospital and you've given year after year after year, and those loyal donors are very, very valuable philanthropists for the hospital, but when they go into the next life, if you will, that money those gifts are going to go away. So what about a gift to sustain the charity to help them remember you and the gifts that you were so valuable to them during your lifetime? So meeting ahead of time and thinking about the process, it's not an easy process. You're right, Phil. Most clients come in and say, I just want this over. I want to get it well done, sign it, and that's it. But a key advisor that we're going to be talking about, Mark Weber, basically maintains that the estate planning, legacy planning process actually begins the moment that they sign the document. It's not over. It's the ongoing process that can be changed from time to time. And that's basically what legacy planning is.
I think there's a saying: turn problems into procedures. In other words, I think we've identified a problem, which is that people go unprepared to their attorneys and they get a plan which is not inappropriate, but it's not the best possible plan because they didn't give the attorney the information about what they're trying to accomplish that the attorney needs. So clients do have to be better prepared. But what could they do as a practical matter? What format could they follow? What procedures could we give them? I think that's kind of where Mark Weber has excelled. What has been your experience?
Mark has a series of worksheets that I think would be invaluable for the clients to use as a resource for getting ready for their estate planning conference. On the worksheets, there are certain questions that come up like why we choose to leave money to our children. Why are we doing that? Are we doing it just to enable them to have an easier life down the road, to maybe have some pleasures that they might not otherwise have if they didn't have this accumulated inherited wealth? That's number one. How would we like our children to use their inheritance? Or is that even a factor? Do you care? But at least think about it. And you want to make sure that the child hopefully will use the resources that you're giving them not as a total dependency for their lifestyle, but as a supplement, so that they can feel good about their own lives and the mark they're making themselves in life, and using your inheritance to basically enhance that lifestyle, but also perhaps enhance the values that you're trying to pass on to them through the example that you were trying to set during your lifetime. That's another question is having family meetings. He has a format for inviting children to a family meeting if it's age appropriate. Have the children involved. You don't have to speak with the children about the size of your estate, but it's certainly, I think, a very, very good thing for the children to know what's important to you, what values are important for us to pass on to you. And many, many times clients will tell you, if they're really asked to give an honest assessment of their quote estate plan, that money is down the list. It's not the most important thing. We don't really necessarily care about the money that we're passing on. It's who we've created and who we formed as people, invaluable members of society.
I think that's so right. I think that connects to the impulses of love and philanthropy. We love our families, we love our country, we love our community, we love our nonprofits. And if our final documents can testify to that, and we live into it while we're alive, I think anyway, I'm being to preach, but I really feel strongly that this element is so important. I know you do too.
Yeah, Phil, you say a good thing there too about the preaching part. You have to be careful. I have to be careful because I get so enthused about this. I mean, I took the CAP, the CAP Chartered Advisor and Philanthropy Program, and really it just changed the whole paradigm for me in terms of really at this stage of my planning career, what I'd like to do to try to make an impact on effective legacy planning for my clients. But at some point, the client is going to be the ultimate driver of the boat.
That's, I really feel like a lot of times people, including clients, get caught up in stuff there's almost like the plumbing as opposed to the architecture. Are we trying to build a shopping mall here or a church or a cathedral? I
Yeah,
mean,
no, that's so true. You need a willing participant in order for this to be an effective.
you need a willing and in fact proactive participant, and I think that's really what we're encouraging people. We're not trying to persuade anybody to change their preferences, but we are really asking that they think about their preferences with their spouse and come prepared and even determined that their goals will be met.
No, exactly, absolutely. I Phil, one thing I wanted to mention to you, and I don't know if this is even feasible to do in some cases, but I have one woman that I know, she's now passed in Chester County. She was a well-known philanthropist and good citizen, community person oriented, very wealthy lady, and she had several grandchildren. And at Thanksgiving, she would meet with her grandchildren, and age spectrum could be anywhere from maybe 6 to 26 or 30. And she'd meet with them and give them each $500. She said, here's $500, but I'm going to hold on to it. So between now and Christmas, I want you to go out and I want you to research a charitable organization that's important to you. I want you to research it on the internet. You can figure out how to do it. And just come back at Christmas time and tell me how you want, because this gift is not to you, it's for you to give to that charity. And then at Christmas time, when you've decided what the charity is, we're going to go and visit the charity together.
Beautiful.
And we're going to hand them your gift to them. And to me, that's a game changer. I mean,
It is.
just, I get chills when I think about it, but it worked for
Yeah.
this person and many, many others that I've suggested people do that. They love that.
It's so true. Habits of the
Yeah.
heart as well as, and when it's interesting to me as you say that, in interviewing clients or donors about what they're trying to accomplish, I think, when you begin to ask questions like, what is your first memory of giving? Or where did you learn to be generous? Or where did you pick up the gene for altruism? Some question like that. It's amazing how, I've always found if the mother or the grandmother is mentioned, you have a wonderful opportunity there for that person to do great things, because that's where we learn it. We learn it from our family, but I think very often from the mothers and the grandmothers who teach habits of the heart, love, and our obligation to each other, starting with the sandbox.
Absolutely.
Share your toys.
No, it's so true.
These issues before. Well, Lou and I left it at that with share your toys. Now, whether you share your toys or not and with whom and how is entirely up to you. But I think a good suggestion is to go to Mark Weber's site, download some of the worksheets, and begin to do your own legacy planning work more intentionally. And I'm sure the nonprofits will help you. I'm sure your attorney and your CPA, your financial advisor will help you. But it does begin with you.